Wasabi wallet. Unfairly private.
What's up, everyone? I'm Ben with the BTC Sessions. The other day, I had the pleasure of having a sit-down chat with Knut Svanholm. Now, he is the author of Bitcoin Sovereignty Through Mathematics and Bitcoin Independence Reimagined. Now, we got into some controversial topics. This is related to a tweet he made last week, and I figured we'd flesh it out a little bit. Nonetheless, I'm sure there are many hot button issues that we talk on in this episode, and they would be hot button whether or not it was related to Bitcoin. So I hope you enjoy this chat. I sure did. And you know, if it's a little touchy for yourself, let me know. Let me know what you think. But regardless, I really did enjoy this, and I hope you do as well. This is another episode of Sips with Sessions.
Hodl the Bitcoin.
Now, before we dive into the interview, I do want to give a shout out to sponsors of the show, LEDN.io. This is where you can use your Bitcoin for a variety of different products and services. Now, the first thing that I want to highlight here is their Bitcoin-backed loans. I've used them in the past and they've worked very well for me. So if you're in a pinch and you need to get your hands on dollars, but you don't want to sell your Bitcoin because one, that's a taxable event, and two, you're worried about having to buy back in at a higher price point later, this could be for you. Really simple. Basically, deposit your Bitcoin, get a loan to your bank account within 24 hours usually, and when you pay back that loan, you get back the exact same amount of Bitcoin. Now, they obviously have some other offerings here. They have their Bitcoin and USDC savings accounts with interest rates up to 11.7% annually paid monthly. And they have their B2X offering. This uses the same loan mechanism to instantly buy more Bitcoin, effectively doubling your Bitcoin on the spot. So if you want to check them out, there's a link in the show notes down below. If you click that link and opt to get a loan, they will also credit you with an additional $25 worth of USDC into your savings account, and you can opt to do whatever you like with that from there on in. So please do check them out. Up next, we have our friends over at love the guys at Cloaks here. If you don't know about Cloaks, you need to check them out, cryptocloaks.com. And they are a bunch of incredible Bitcoiners that got together with some 3D printers and started pumping out this amazing swag. Now, I have my Bitcoin node shell ready to go. I'm going to be doing a video on Get Umbro pretty soon here. But I've got a few things. I've got their Bitcoin coaster. I'm going to be grabbing the Bitcoin Honey Badger shelf to store some test hardware wallets, but they've got a little bit of everything. I love the Bitcoin grenades. They've got sticker packs. They've got shells for your cold card and other hardware, and night lights, a little bit of everything for everyone. So be sure to check them out. Again, cryptocloaks.com. And if you want 5% off, just use the code BTC Sessions, all one word. And finally, we have the Cobo Vault. Now, I have done a full tutorial on this thing. It has moved into my regular rotation of often used hardware wallets. I love it because it is 100% air gapped. Everything is done via QR code, which is much more secure than plugging in a device to anything internet connected. It keeps the keys to your money safe and offline. Now, it also has a secure element. It has open source firmware, very important. And my favorite thing is that it's interoperable with all of my favorite Bitcoin wallets. You can use it with Bitcoin Core, Electrum, my favorite Wasabi wallet on desktop, and of course Blue Wallet on mobile. Those are my go-tos. So be sure to check out the Cobo Vault. I personally have the Cobo Vault Pro because it has the rechargeable battery, which I find super convenient and even more slim than the AAA version. And also, if you want, they're not just going to take your money, they're also giving away stuff. All you need to do is hop on Twitter, retweet the show, tag myself and Cobo, and I'm choosing a winner from every single show that does those steps. Let us know why you would like a Cobo Tablet Plus, which is a steel plate to store the backup to any wallet you may have. And if you retweet that out, I'll be giving away one for every episode from now till the end of November. So be sure to check that out. And please do enjoy this interview with Knut Svanholm. Welcome. How are you, man?
I'm good. Thanks for inviting me.
Really good to see you again. So those of you watching that are unfamiliar, Knut Svanholm, author twice over. I have them here. We have, of course, Bitcoin Sovereignty Through Mathematics. And when did you release this one? I can't recall.
Oh, I think it was like June last year, but it didn't really take off after Riga. Until after Riga.
Okay, and then this one is more recent. When did this one drop? I can't recall. This is, by the way, those that can't see, Independence Reimagined.
Yeah, that one dropped in May, I think.
Okay.
This year. No.
So is this going to be a regular thing for you? Like now it seems like if you're pumping them out every 6 months.
No. There's like a year between those two.
Okay.
And now I got a lot of other projects going. Like I wrote a couple of articles for the fantastic Citadel 21 magazine.
I love them. I'm still waiting on mine. It's taking 800 years to get here.
Yeah, and Hodlonaut and Katya, they're like the sort of the closest Bitcoiners or semi-famous Bitcoiners to where I live.
Yeah.
Kalle Rosenbaum is quite close by it as well, but we haven't really, since COVID hit everyone on Earth, we haven't really had this. We've been planning to do something, but it hasn't really happened yet.
Yeah, so I guess I don't know. Obviously, not many I have, other than people that I see in person. I actually met you in Riga for Baltic Honey Badger, which would have been about a year ago now, right? Because it was September of 2019.
Yeah, I think it's like a year and 2 weeks or something like that.
Yeah.
It was in September.
Yeah. And myself, yourself, and BTC Shelling Point had a hell of a breakfast. I don't know about you, but I was super hungover at that point. But we just blasted through breakfast and we just talked for hours. And it was like, I got out of that conversation. It was the highlight of my entire trip to Riga. And we just shot the shit for I don't know how long, and I was so bullish by the end of that talk. I don't know about you.
Yeah, same here. And he's such a great guy as well.
Yeah.
We shouldn't dox him by Mr. Wizard. I call him Mr. Wizard, and I call him Mr. Cat.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed that convo. Both of you were great to chat to, and really made my trip. So I guess I'll say thank you for that now before we dive in.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah. I remember your thermos with all the stickers on it.
Yes. I think I need to get a new one because I dented the hell out of that one. I gotta get a new. But yeah. So again, we'll show the books at the end. The reason I reached out to you is this. I don't know if it was purposely trollish tweet, but everybody's already was like there was enough drama with the whole stock to flow thing that was already going on with Corey Klippstein and Plan B and all that crap. And then I see you drop this bomb on Twitter. I'm just I'm just gonna read the tweet here so people like I laughed. I thought it was funny, but okay, here's it what it says. Really unpopular opinions among some Bitcoiners. Number 1, there's no such thing as God or Judeo-Christian values. Number 2, the stock to flow model is deeply flawed. Number 3, guns suck. Number 4, abortions are good for society. Number 5, Lindy tells you nothing about how good or bad an idea is. And you said, don't trust, verify, #Bitcoin. So
I guess that was my inner provocateur waking up.
I think I think so. It looks like it.
Yeah.
So I mean,
I
before
can
we
tell
dive
you.
in
Yeah.
to some of those, let's just what was the what came up that you were like, I'm gonna type this and hit tweet? What happened at that point where you're like,
You
okay,
have to read the second tweet because it's a
yes,
double tweet, and
okay, okay,
as I suspected, some people didn't get that.
okay. So the
The
second
second
tweet,
part is equally as important.
yeah. So the second tweet here reads, now before you block me, I didn't necessarily say that I hold any of these opinions. Maybe I do, and maybe I don't. If you want to know more, you'll have to talk to me or read my works. What I can say is that none of them are incompatible with neither libertarianism or Bitcoin.
Oh, that's provocative as well, I guess.
Yes. So, what were you just on Twitter and you were like, I just feel like dropping a bomb, or what?
No, like there's a couple of things that led up to this. I think now we're making sort of rewriting history here because it's a tweet.
Yeah.
It's nothing more. It's a damn tweet.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I had listened to a couple of Bitcoin pods, and this stock to flow thing happened. I wrote a tweet earlier about the stock to flow model, not believing in the stock to flow model, whatever. That is Plan B's model, and getting a lot of angry responses to that. And like we had, I've heard a lot of pods lately with brilliant Bitcoiners, but they all seem to have fallen into this. They all like Jordan Peterson a lot, and they all seem to be have a religious outlook on Bitcoin. And I'm trying to be the Bitcoin atheist's voice, and those things combined sort of triggered this thing because I'll explain myself point to point, I guess, for the tweet. The first thing is I don't really think I had the same concept about what an unpopular opinion tweet really means, because just writing typing the words unpopular opinion into a tweet doesn't mean that you hold that opinion. So I made a, like yesterday or something, I made a poll. Does unpopular opinion imply that you actually hold that the tweeter actually holds that opinion? And apparently people think so, because if you write unpopular opinion, you're sort of categorized into that box. But this was sort of to point at stuff that like I see humanity like there are left-wing and right-wing ideas, and there are subtle differences between these things in Europe and the US, for instance. And I think that some of the values that the libertarians in the US hold are not really fully thought through, and probably the same thing goes for European libertarians as well. But I think I have a slightly different outlook on some of these issues. So would you read the tweet again, because I can't remember it?
Yeah. Well, do you want to go into like each? Do you want to just? Why don't we just start this off with a bang?
Point by point.
Yeah. Let's. Okay. So I don't. I'll leave it to you whether you confirm or deny that you hold a particular. I already know the first one, but so the first point was there's no such thing as God or, in quotations, Judeo-Christian values. So do you want to elaborate on what you were getting at there and your position on it, if you so choose?
Yeah, like the tweet says, these are unpopular opinions among some Bitcoiners. They and a tweet is not enough to express my position on these things. As an atheist, it's not that I think that there is no God. That is not my definition of atheism. The definition for atheism that I use is the same as it was for Christopher Hitchens and is for Dawkins and Harris and Dennett, and that is, I don't buy into any of the religious stories that I've been told so far. I don't buy them. I think they're man-made, and I think there's a very low probability of them being true. And like, for instance, have you heard about this flying spaghetti monster religion?
I love pastafarians.
Pastafarians. They sort of put the nail on the head there, because like that's about as likely as Judaism being correct, or Christianity being correct, or Mormonism being correct. That doesn't really matter. They're all stories, and they're all man-made. This is my belief, that I believe that they're man-made, and I believe that because the evidence points to that direction. And when I think that Americans have all the religious groups are tax exempt in the US, right? You have to correct me if I'm wrong here, but they don't pay as much taxes as a business, or as other groups in society. And I think that thing skews the view Americans tend to have on religion, because religion has gotten to a place where it's much more respected than it ought to be. And I think that because these organizations have become so much more powerful. But I think that, like, they are just another, at their core, they're just another tool for controlling other people, just like the state. I view religions, and organized religions, and nation states as sort of the same entity.
This is alluded to in somewhat alluded to in Sovereign Individual, right? Like he makes the comparison of the church, and their monopoly on violence, and how it gradually waned over time, and it was overtaken by today's nation state. So yeah.
And I don't think, like, Bitcoin is a different beast altogether. And what I think that these Bitcoiners have gotten wrong is, like, just because this has to do with a misinterpretation of the Lindy effect as well. But like, just because religion is an old idea doesn't necessarily make it a better idea. Or just because so many people has believed in this or that for such a long time says nothing about the validity of the idea or the truthfulness of it. Mm-hmm. And there are some great debates between Sam Harris and Jordan Peterson, about all of these topics, and some of them are moderated by the great Douglas Murray, if you know him. He wrote an excellent book not too long ago called The Madness of Crowds, and before that, The Strange Death of Europe.
I just bought Madness of Crowds. I haven't read it yet.
Yeah, these are two books that I recommend to all Bitcoiners. They are very spot on what the problem is right now, and what the problem that the whole Jordan Peterson being cast out by his university debacle and the Brett Weinstein thing. It's all connected to what Douglas Murray describes in the Madness of Crowds. Now, where was I? The thing is, I hear the term Judeo-Christian values a lot, and I think this comes from Jordan Peterson. Like, the thing. You hear people say that our societies are built on Judeo-Christian values, and without that we wouldn't have, like, private property rights, or we wouldn't be sovereign individuals, or whatever it is. And I don't believe this, because you can just read like the Old Testament and the New Testament, and see what they actually say. And from that, you can you can see that the values we hold aren't really Christian values or Judaist values, Judean values. I mean, to begin with, these religions aren't like, they didn't come from nowhere. They themselves have borrowed a lot from different other belief systems that preceded them.
Mm-hmm.
For instance, there are about 50 other historical religious characters that have sort of the same traits as Jesus Christ, like for instance Horus or Ra, like in ancient Egypt and in Greece and wherever these. So it's like all the religions borrow a lot from each other. And like if you read the Old Testament, which Judaism is actually based on, it's horrible and it's awful. And the God in that book is a mean motherfucker, and he's just all about vengeance and proving a point by killing everyone or taking away their goats. And masturbators are to be killed, and their families are to burn in hell and stuff like that. And it's just quite an awful book. And the New Testament it goes easier on things, but it's quite obviously incoherent and written by a bunch of different people, and it has obviously been rewritten. And for how many times we can't really know, because these things happened 2,000 years ago, and there aren't really any good evidence to pointing to even the existence of Jesus Christ. And now I'm a blasphemer again here, but I don't believe that. Like we're like I say in the book Independence Reimagined, we're all chained to the unforgiving arrow of time, and we can't really know if the scientific method and everything that has happened during the Enlightenment was because of that we had a good moral ground in Judeo-Christian values, or if Judeo-Christian values actually just hindered the whole process for all these years. And I have a sneaky suspicion that the latter is more true, because they burnt Bruno, Galileo's student, and they threw Galileo in jail for saying that we have a heliocentric solar system and stuff like that. And these things are so bizarre. And like the Catholic Church's official apology for disagreeing with Galileo and throwing him in jail came like 1993 or something like that.
Do you think that
I hate organized religion? That's the thing. People can believe whatever they want, but like look it up. What if it's man-made? Just think the thought. What if this is man-made? There's and Bitcoiners in particular. Sorry for going on here like this.
Yeah, no worries.
Bitcoiners in particular, we're so good at pointing out what's wrong with the state, and like this is a lie, and the Fed is a lie, and this is a lie, but still so reluctant to see religion as the same thing. It's a bunch of lies. If you see when a barbaric civilization is in its infancy, you can see that their borders expand very rapidly as soon as they invent ceremonial burial. And why is that? That is because you have invented a ritual that fools 18-year-olds into thinking that there's a life after this life. And if you can fool them that there's a life after this, you can send them to war, and you can send them to kill their neighbors and the neighboring tribes and take their stuff. And like religion is a tool for really mean psychopath leaders in order to fool people to sacrifice themselves for the greater good, which is always a war crime or two. And I don't see why people are so reluctant to see this. I guess it is because no one wants to admit that they've been brainwashed, but sorry, you are, until you see everything, the bullshit in everything. You aren't really in my view, you aren't really a libertarian yet.
I
That's the
remember.
rant.
Yeah, no, that's. I'm sure there'll be comments. So I remember a little while back, actually, I saw a similar thread. I was in it. I had to mute it after a while because the other person in the thread would not relent. But I had said something to the effect of like, and you obviously chimed in, but I had said something about I was a little confused as to because I see obviously there are a good number of religious Bitcoiners, not religious about, well, yes, religious about Bitcoin, but I'm talking about like actual prescribed to organized religion, while also being a Bitcoiner. And myself, so I grew up going to Catholic school, but early on it just wasn't really for me. I questioned a lot of stuff, and then I kind of just shifted out of that. So I haven't been, if I ever really truly was religious, if you could say that, I haven't been since I was like 13. And so I guess the question that I was asking on Twitter back when this other thread happened, was I wasn't quite sure why that linkage was there as with a group of people that proclaim don't trust, verify.
Yeah,
It was just a weird disconnect for me. And like, again, like if somebody wants to believe in God, like it's no sweat off my back. I don't really care.
Go believe whatever you want, but it has nothing to do with Bitcoin. And this is what I wouldn't say it pisses me off, because I think the whole thing, like viewing Bitcoin as a religion and me taking the other side and being like no, this is financial atheism. I kind of like that, but to be honest, and I think the other side likes it too, especially Gigi. Anyway, but but I think there's a danger to well, not a danger because Honey Badger doesn't give a shit, but but like I think hyper Bitcoinization will take longer if Bitcoin is sort of promoted to be a new religion, because I think that's confusing at best.
Yeah,
Like,
I'm not a big
it
fan
will
of
not help
the.
people.
I'm not a big fan of the religious Bitcoin movement, but I did want to ask one more question on this particular line of thought. Do you think that religion did help contribute to lower time preference, at least initially?
Uh, Not necessarily, no.
Okay.
I believe it stole a lot of time from a lot of people. I mean, I love Robert Breedlove's work, like the number zero in Bitcoin and the Masters of Slaves and Money.
Yeah.
Those it's some of the best writing in this space, and I'm a bit envious. But this is the thing here. In Masters and Slaves of Money, he comes up with a number of how many hours that have been stolen from us, and like it's sort of an arbitrary number, but anyway, I would like to do a similar calculation, but with the hours spent praying or doing some other religious ritual, because it's basically the same thing. You're controlled by a psychopath on top who tells you have to do these things, you have to pray, or whatever you have to do, religious ritual, and all the people do that, and all the people making money out of it, or gaining power from it, love it. So therefore we have Christmas, for instance, where every family in the West gives each other a lot of Chinese bullcrap, and we complain about the environment, and we have container ships with loads and loads and loads of crap. So we're really we're really thinking about the environment every day except Christmas, because then everything is allowed and we have lights everywhere and everything is. Uh,
I love that you said that. I've literally got a box of Halloween decorations outside of my office door that I'm about to like. It's October 1st. That shit's going all
yeah,
over
yeah,
the house, and on November 1st, it will be a vomiting of Christmas everywhere all over my house
yeah,
for 2 months solid. But again, like, I don't know. I definitely get your point. It's
yeah,
my house will be a a winter wonderland
yeah,
all through
yeah.
November and December. I don't
Yeah.
care.
Well, think
Yeah.
thinking about these things, just a couple of more points. People, the thing is, I have a family and I live in a society, and everyone seems to like these traditions and the
Mhm.
rituals that they have, and I'm forced to participate in them. To me, I would much rather have like every day be worth the same and do
Mhm.
whatever I like each day, and like not have to hang my categorize my life into that this is Christmas and this is Easter and whatever. Uh, anyway, where was I? Oh, I lost my train of thought. Go ahead.
uh, yeah, I mean, we were talking about, I guess the way we segued into this was time preference and kind of
Yeah,
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 yeah.
yeah. Oh, got sidetracked again by another thought. This is ADD working or
All
something.
good.
Uh, and that I visited a place called uh, Suriname once. You
Mhm.
know, this it's country in South America.
Okay.
There's one of the ports we sailed to with the tall ship I used to work on. It was Paramaribo, Suriname, and this is a state that had 7 state religions. Instead of being a secular state, they had 7 state religions.
Wow.
And the Lonely Planet guide to that place just said, "Don't go here." But Paramaribo was a beautiful, beautiful town, and it was quite quite calm and not very violent when we were there. But they told us about that they had to respect every tradition of every of all of those 7 religions. So I guess it was like Judaism, Christianity, Catholic, and Protestant, like Islam, Hinduism, Buddhism, whatever. Probably Rastafari, or so they had like 183 days off every year because every religious holiday of every religion was a holiday. So they never worked. So they were all shit poor, and all and all the stores had bars, barred windows, and yeah, and you
I
could buy.
I I would like to celebrate Festivus. I don't know if you ever watched Seinfeld, but where it was George's dad. He literally just puts like a metal pole instead of a tree, and they all sit around the metal pole and tell each other what they hate about each other, all the problems that they have with each other. It was pretty
Yeah,
great. So any
that
old
sounds great.
Seinfeld fans would love that. Okay, so let's wrap the religion thing.
Yep.
Anybody that has comments about religion for Knut, you can find him at Knut Svanholm on Twitter. um,
Yeah.
let's
Come
move
at
on to
me.
the
Yeah.
now stock to flow. So your quote here: the stock to flow model is deeply flawed. This again, in the context of it's an unpopular opinion amongst Bitcoiners. There was some drama the other day. Corey Klippstein was talking about he's not a fan of the stock to flow,
Yeah.
thinks that the math is bunk, and then there's some back and forth. He accidentally dropped information that was semi doxing. Some people said. Anyways, he took it down.
Yeah,
Apologized.
especially the
Mhm.
guy that got doxed, Plan B,
Mhm.
who proudly posted, "I've been doxed, and this is how it went." Like
Yeah.
very strange debacle, all of it.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. So I mean whatever. So I'll give you kind of like for me the model itself. I don't know. I haven't looked into the math of it. you know, I know looking back, it's kind of has been around those levels, but I'm not saying that it's going to follow forward. I agree. People say that it's hopium. I know that. I mean, Bitcoin itself, most of Bitcoin Twitter is hopium the entire time. So, and I am of the
having said
opinion.
that,
Yeah, having said that, so my issue is getting mad about it. So I don't see a reason to get mad about it, in that
no.
I don't think that it'll, I think I tweeted out something like, if stock to flow is flawed and is super wrong and the price doesn't do what stock to flow says, I don't think it's going to be any more damaging to Bitcoin than Tom Lee going on CNBC in 2018 and saying 50K by end of year. Like, it didn't
No, it
happen.
doesn't matter.
Yeah, it
Honey
doesn't
Badger
matter.
doesn't give a shit.
Yeah. So what is, you know, in tweeting this, I kind of already know your position, but like, what are your thoughts on stock to flow?
My thoughts on stock to flow is like, well, the underlying theory is excellent, and I love how Saifedean describes how stock to flow works in the Bitcoin standard. And I try to do it in sovereignty, I believe, and that's a part that I had to edit quite a lot, because I found it hard to explain it in a good way. But the thing is, with Austrian economic theory, if you read Human Action, it rightfully says that you can't really make accurate like mathematical models of economic effects. Mm-hmm. It's not really a good thing, and it sort of it sort of lures people into believing that something that seems to be true is true, and it's not really true. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, I'm just not a big fan of. I think these technical analysis and everything of around this, and people's like trying to time markets and stuff, it's not very productive in the long run, and it doesn't really add anything of value to the greater economy that people are trying to play it. I can see why they try to play this game, and why they try to buy low and sell high, of course, but to me, that is not the interesting part about Bitcoin. And the thing with the stock to flow model, I think it was my tweet that called it hopium. Another tweet earlier on same week, and a bit of bad wording there, because I don't necessarily mean that it's too bullish, because I think I'm even more bullish than the stock to flow model from time to time, depending on depending on my mood. But
you sound like a Preston Pish, where you say it's going to be invalidated to the upside.
Yeah, and I can definitely see a scenario where it does get invalidated to the upside, like the beginning of hyper Bitcoinization, whenever that happens, because I believe it's inevitable that it will happen, but I don't know if it will happen in 4 weeks or 400 years. Mm-hmm. But when it does, it will be weird. Yeah. And this is the thing. I'm still, because Bitcoin's supply is extremely predictable. Bitcoin's demand is not. It's not predictable at all. Mm-hmm. Like Trump could say something or whatever that turns the whole narrative on its head.
BitMEX could get cracked down on. It's funny, that happened earlier today, right before I was getting paid, and I was like, oh fuck yeah. Extra sats, awesome. So yeah, absolutely, anything can happen.
But having said that, I tend to agree with Pierre Rocard a lot. but not about the stock to flow model. And there's a great debate from the Value of Bitcoin conference, which I was a part of, that happened digitally this year because of COVID. I was planning to go there, but unfortunately got cancelled. But there was a great debate there between Erik Wall and Pierre Rocard. Erik Wall is another Swede that is a bit too shitcoinery type of guy for my taste, but he was right about the stock to flow model. And he had made a rainbow chart saying like, no, the rainbow model is the right model. It was a bit Pastafari-ish in his approach there in debunking the theory.
Yeah, fair enough.
But the thing is, I Plan B seems like a nice guy. I'll have to, some time will have to pass before I see who's the villain in this one bit Corey Clipstein versus Plan B thing. Corey has always been nice to me, and he's a great guy, and his brother too. Like, I think there's a lot of misunderstandings in Bitcoin, and people tend to be a bit too easily offended, and it's a bit social justice warrior-y to be offended by stuff, right? Yeah. Weren't we supposed to be the ones who were thick-skinned and not offended by stuff? Like, yeah.
Yeah, I think
like, good on you. No.
I agree
you made
with that.
Yeah, you made a model. I don't believe in it. So what? Doesn't matter.
Yeah, I agree. Obviously, I would very much like to see stock to flow play out. I won't have my feelings hurt if it does not. Again, like the underlying idea of with sustained demand, and that's the unknown there, that the diminishing flow of new Bitcoin onto the market would have an impact, sure. But yeah, there's some unknowns there, obviously.
Yeah, but the danger is that it might drag the reputation of the underlying mechanism, the actual stock to flow, and the name of that, and like how that works might be overshadowed by this guy who's chosen to call his theory the stock to flow theory. And does that make any sense? Maybe it's far-fetched.
Yeah,
might be a bit far-fetched.
Yeah, it sounds like both of us are somewhat indifferent.
Yeah, to tell you the truth, I'm indifferent. People make economic theories all the time. Mises says they don't work. I'm leaning towards Mises' point of view.
Okay, fair enough. All right, let's move down the list. We're making good headway here. Guns suck. Elaborate.
Yeah, they kill people. Of course they suck.
Should people be allowed to have them?
No, the thing is, people shouldn't be allowed or disallowed anything. A government can't ever give you a right. They can only take away stuff. So that's beside the point. And I wrote guns suck because I don't believe in any like prohibitive laws or anything like that. Not really. Like I have to say I do in Sweden, but anyway. The thing is, guns suck because they kill people, and the whole fetish about guns in the Bitcoin sphere, and that you need to have a shotgun because that's going to save you from an army, or like I think it's like if you're a libertarian, you're basically a pacifist. You're like you're for a non-violence principle. This is why this is a large part of what I like about Bitcoin, because it sort of obsoletes violence. If you have a population and they can all have 99% of their net worth in their heads, and no one can ever know what that net worth is if they've taken the enough privacy measures and stuff, then there's no real way of extracting that wealth by other means than providing something of value to that person. You can't any longer take it. You can't take it by force any longer. You have to provide something of value to that person and exchange it. This is what Bitcoin does, and I think this is one of the most fascinating aspects. Is like, you can't really be violent to people in a, you can't, well, of course you can be violent, but it's much harder to extract the wealth, extract something of value from that person by being violent to them. Right now it's easy.
It's funny, I've got to say, like, being Canadian, I was never into guns. You know, we really like don't. There's definitely less of a fetish around guns in Canada. I was never big into them. I do have to say, since and maybe this is just like the culture of many people around Bitcoin, but over time I've become less averse to firearms and do. I don't want to say I wish we had better access to them in Canada. You do have access to them, but I think watching like the US right now, I definitely understand more of the idea of somebody being like, I just in case I would like to have one. I'm curious in your stance in a world where there was no such thing as like a police state, or you know, like law enforcement was relegated to, I guess, provided by the private sector. Would you lean towards, would you see guns differently in that type of a world, or would you be more likely to own one? I don't know if you currently do. I'm guessing from the sounds of it, no, but like, would that change?
Fooling everyone. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not like this this was the sort of the trolliest part of the tweet, because a lot of Bitcoiners enjoy having guns and enjoy shooting their guns and posing with their guns, and good on them. I have nothing against that, really. I for me personally, I don't having a life where I have to focus on self-defense and a gun would suck.
Yeah. So it's not, it's
like,
obviously you're not saying it prescriptively. It's more of like,
no,
it's descriptive of yourself and you wanting to be in a place with lots of guns.
I mean, there are other means of protecting yourself from violent acts. Like, for instance, I think becoming famous might be both pose a risk and be somewhat, you might be protected by that in a way. You know what I mean? Like, of course there are weirdos like that guy who shot like John Lennon or Dimebag Darrell. It's like, of course you're exposed in another way, but that might also save you from violence, because no one really wants to kill a famous guy that everyone likes. And I just said the counter examples there with John Lennon, but it's very rare. Imagine a huge rock star like Bono, or like James Hetfield from Metallica, or someone who plays to like millions and millions of fans every year, and is, to my knowledge, never had any trouble with anyone trying to be violent to him recently. So
you think that's because
is
of
that
their like private security though? Like they're obviously they've got like they've got walls around their homes for sure.
To add to this, I didn't I slept too little last night. I slept really badly, so I might be really fucking stupid right now, and I might be just
Okay.
saying the wrong things. I don't really have that much opinions on guns. I wrote that in the tweet to be provocative, I guess.
Yeah, but you just don't personally want to be around guns a lot, I imagine.
At the time I wrote it, I couldn't predict an interview happening where I was stating my stance on guns. It's like very
I should have had
far-fetched.
Ragnar on here.
Yeah, Ragnar would hate me, I guess.
Okay. Let's just keep going because this next one is a doozy. And okay, before I say it, there's an interesting book, and I don't know that I agree with everything in the book. I read it a long time ago, so I'm probably like in some way misquoting
let's
it.
see if we think about the same one here.
Are you
Because
thinking
I know.
Freakonomics?
Yeah, that's the one.
Okay, so I know exactly where you're coming from there. I'll let you elaborate on this, but a little. Okay, so you're,
So cool that you read that.
Yeah,
and we thought of the same book. Yeah.
Oh man, and what the conclusions that they come to in that book are, they're tough to grapple with because there's data behind it. But I'll let you elaborate a little bit. But your point here, and again, whether or not you hold that opinion is interesting, but the point is that you wrote, abortions are good for society.
Yeah.
So
and
let's dive down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, and that sort of connects to the first tweet there about Judeo-Christian values and stuff. I sort of like making fun of people who take religious stuff too seriously. But I think the abortion, it's a lot different here in Europe because we're not as religious, so abortion isn't really a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
And like the book you mentioned, Freakonomics, like you said, it looks at a lot of data, and it talks about a time where some of my favorite movies were made, like RoboCop, for instance, the end of the 80s, and that was sort of America had sort of a dark outlook because there was a lot of violent crimes going on everywhere. Right,
particularly New York, it was quite.
Particularly in New York, and all of these dystopian movies came out at that time, and they predicted a pretty dark future. And then all of a sudden, or quite suddenly, the homicide rates and the violent crime rates dropped, and nobody knew why. And these guys who wrote Freakonomics, they try to explain it because.
Yeah.
They looked at the data.
There was an assumption. I should point out that people assumed that it was based on an uptick in like police presence and everything like that. But when they look back and look at the data, the uptick in all of these protective measures and policing and everything came actually quite a bit after the downtick in violence, and there was another reason. So I'll let you keep going.
Yeah. You probably remember the book better than I do because I read it quite like 10, 15 years ago or something like that. But the thing that the writers of that book point out, I think there are two writers, right? Or maybe just one.
Two writers.
Is that around 20 years earlier, like in the beginning of the 70s, a lot of states passed a abortion is okay law. Like abortions were prohibited everywhere until then. And then a lot of the theory is that a lot of unwanted children never got born. They were never born. And a lot of unwanted and that this has like so the would have been murderers were never born. And that's basically what the book says, right?
It was I remember reading it, and if that's the supposition of what they're saying, how do you present that as data to the public? How do you say because like the implication is and like a lot of people so what they were trying to say was that people that grew up in broken homes, that the women would have perhaps had an abortion, ended up having the kid. The kid was abandoned or grew up in a terrible living environment, or went through foster homes or whatever, and gradually descended into a life of crime. And those, yeah, and so what they were saying is that when it was passed and people were allowed to have abortions, more people did, meaning that less of those kids with terrible upbringings actually even existed. And that's a pretty, it's a pretty rough thing to even like I find it difficult discussing it, because it's basically saying like, well, we'll just kill them before they exist. But at the same time, like, you kind of look at the data, and it's a little wild to see. It's there, and
I
it's
come to
staring
think
everybody
of
in the
Elvis
face.
on a cold and grey Chicago morning. Another poor little hungry boy, child is born in the ghetto.
Yeah, exactly. Like, well, I think of Eric Cartman from South Park singing it,
Yeah,
so like a little higher pitched, but but
yeah.
but yeah,
But the
like
thing
it's
is,
yeah, you go ahead.
okay, my stance on abortion. The thing I think, like, people who are anti-abortion, they see it as murder, right? And they see conception as the point in time where life begins. And that's like, their life begins there when the sperm and the egg hit each other. That's where life begins, and after that it's murder. That's the basic theory, right? Yeah. And libertarians are very much like, everyone should be entitled to their own, do what they want with their own bodies, and like, except for pregnant women, because there's another body in that pregnant woman, and that has rights too. So that's some how it goes. And but the thing is, what this definition of life starts here, and a human life starts here, that's not reality. That's a construct of the human mind. We tend to box things in, and we say that this is life, this is death, this is a round shape, and this is a square. And maybe those are bad examples, because they are kind of obviously easy to verify, or easy to define. But like we say, this is a dog and this is a cat, and like, all of these things are like, maybe not as easy as they seem at the first glance. Like, biology has proven again and again to be more complicated than we first thought that it was. Like, and the Bible doesn't mention DNA once, or anything like this. And the thing with the fetus is, there's no real biological difference, except on a very, very, like, on a cellular level, the chemistry is slightly different, but there's no real difference in the organs or anything in a human fetus and a dog fetus, or a pig fetus, or a monkey fetus for quite some time. I don't know, I'm not an abortion expert. I'm not a medically trained, of course not. But the thing I have a problem with is this black and white thinking about when the sperm hits the egg, that's where life begins. Why is that so black and white? I don't really see that. And up to a point, I think that a woman should have a right to her own body. And like, it's very easy if you're anti killing a fetus after conception, but you're not anti like condoms and all. What's I'm brain stop. I'm losing the word here. Prevent.
Yeah, contraceptives. That's what
of course.
There you go. Yeah.
Yes, a bit embarrassing. Well, some religious people are against contraceptives as well, and I think there are a lot of bigger problems here, like circumcision, for instance, which is obviously very violent and very vile and evil. And like, so the abortion thing, yeah, I guess my stance on it is that it should be up to each and every family. And like,
it's so difficult to talk. So here's, in general, when I'm looking at stuff like this, I think a lot of it does tie back into whether or not you're a religious individual too, right? Because I if I'm not mistaken, then there's a human life is obviously elevated above other types of life, because like a fetus or like a freshly a newly fertilized egg is, doesn't have a brain, it can't think yet, there's no, it can't feel anything, but the importance is placed on what it will become.
yes.
And so it's if you're not looking at what is currently there, you're looking at the potential of what it could one day become, and preventing that from happening. But I think people that lean towards allowing for abortion in any form, they're looking at what it currently is versus that potential. And I think that, I don't know, that's kind of what I gather.
This is another issue with the religious point of view, because in the according to the Bible, animals have no souls, I think. I'm not an expert on the Bible either, but I know some stuff about it, and which means that you can be as cruel as you want to any other species than a human. And like you said, an unborn fetus or a full-grown chimpanzee, which life is worth more? I'm not so sure. I mean, I'm perfectly seeing a chimpanzee suffer from violence. I feel empathy for that thing, or that being. Of course, seeing someone, like I saw some horrible pictures from the Wuhan markets when COVID started, like someone frying a living dog. What the hell makes people do that? Obviously, a belief that other species aren't worth as much as us. And I don't mean to become all left-wing and vegan and stuff like that, because that's not my point. But my point is that these things are not black and white, and there's a gray area here when it comes to morality, and it's not as easy as we might think. And therefore, I think, like I said in the next tweet, these are views that are perfectly compatible with libertarian values. It's like, it should be up to each and every family, and well, no one else should force that moral decision upon you, because like what will happen if, say for instance, you have a sort of a society where you forbid abortions? What happens then? Well, probably the woman will go somewhere where abortions are illegal, aren't illegal, and that place might be a bad place to do an abortion, and she will have a higher risk of hurting herself while killing the baby anyway, like, or whatever the phrasing, and or she will do what they did before abortions existed, which is like, she'll have the baby and drown it in a river somewhere. Like, is that better? I don't know. Or I do know it's not better. If you're gonna get rid of it anyway, why not do it directly?
Cells, I guess. No.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's move from abortion to the next one.
Like, here we are discussing all these things from a slightly too trolly tweets, but
yeah, exactly. I mean, but it's nonetheless interesting. I'm sure there's going to be so many comments on this. Oh my god. Okay.
The thing is, Ben, like, if I was arguing with someone, it would be easier to like come up with
Yeah.
come up with good arguments. But you seem to, well, I wouldn't say you agreed with me to 100%, but you're polite and you don't really disagree with me on anything either. So I don't really get fired up and
my goal isn't to like
debate
I don't
me.
know. Yeah, my goal isn't to debate you. I just kind of wanted to like have a general I don't think there's enough of just discussing ideas and not getting angry at each other kind of
No.
thing.
And this is sort of my point with this tweet. We're supposed to be the thick-skinned ones. We're not supposed to be the social justice warriors that play the victim card all the time and get upset by what other people say.
Yeah.
That shouldn't be us. we should be the ones that allow ourselves to discuss things and to be open to new ideas.
Yeah, fair enough.
Except
The last point that you have here kind of, I guess, beckons back to everything else that all the previous points, because it kind of has, you can project it onto any of them. But the point was the Lindy, or the Lindy effect, tells you nothing about how good or bad an idea is. So maybe if you can just quickly say, for anybody unfamiliar, what the Lindy effect is, and then I guess elaborate on what you were saying there.
The Lindy effect talks about like an idea or a technology, and it states that the average expected lifetime that the idea or technology has left is exactly proportional to how long it has existed before that. I think that's the Wikipedia definition, or
it's talking about the longevity of an idea. If it's been around for a while, it's more likely to continue existing.
Yes, and this could be connected to the survivability of the idea, and Nassim Taleb talks a lot about this in the Black Swan. No, not the Black Swan. The other one. Skin in the Game, of course.
Yes.
Skin in the Game. Yeah. And Skin in the Game is a book that had a lot of impact on me because of the basic theory about having skin in the game, and that's why I choose to use my real name and like do all these things, like this interview with you, talking about dangerous subjects, which might get me into a lot of trouble, but at least I didn't puss out.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I can definitely say that.
Yeah. And writing the books goes hand in hand with this as well. But he talks a lot about Lindy and Lindy's like impact on society.
Mm-hmm.
I think Lindy is an overrated concept, because it while it can predict the lifespan of certain things, it doesn't really say anything about the validity of that thing, or the truthfulness of that idea, or if we ought to spend our time doing anything else, doing something else. So in that sense, I think the Lindy effect has it's misinterpreted by a lot of people who think like religion is a good example, because people think that, oh, Christianity has a shit long Lindy, therefore there must be something there, and it must be really powerful. And
I mean, so did the Greek gods.
Yeah, so did the Greek gods, and like so did Egypt way before. Yeah. And like I guess the Norse gods had a long Lindy as well, and like and bad ideas have a long Lindy too. Like socialism, for instance, is really Lindy, and it's everywhere, and it has been, and it's like
coming back.
It lives on, and so the Lindy effect, slightly overrated, I guess. I think there's a very good debate between Sam Harris and Jordan B. Peterson about this. There's a very good debate about they get into a debacle. I heard it live, the first podcast where they talked about what the word truth actually meant. And then they sort of got stuck, and they did another one where they get a bit further. And the thing is that Jordan Peterson talks about metaphorical truths a lot. And while I think some of Jordan Peterson's stuff is brilliant, like his debate with Kathy Newman, I believe her name is, on Channel 4, that was excellent. And like a lot of things he says makes a lot of sense. But I tend to agree with Sam Harris. Like he has like 80 to 85% really brilliant, but the rest is completely bonkers and Jesus smuggling a lot. And the thing is with when they talk about truth, they have an example with a quill bore, and like if you were to believe that the quill bore could shoot his quills and that they were poisonous, you would have a higher chance of surviving an encounter with a quill bore or something like that. So there's a metaphorical truth to believing that quill bores can shoot their quills. And this is Peterson's side of the argument. I'm paraphrasing here, but and Sam Harris' argument is that yes, but that isn't really truth, because it doesn't matter if the human like, for instance, if we know the truth of how to make an atom bomb, and won't we all kill ourselves, and like is truth a goal to strive for? And so that's and Sam Harris' point in this discussion is that that's a different topic. If we should strive for truthfulness or not is a different topic, but the word truth needs to mean one thing, and it needs to mean actual truth and not a metaphorical truth. And there's another one with when Jordan Peterson talks a lot about the metaphorical truths in the different sections of the Bible and what those stories mean, and the hero's journey and all this. You can find ancient stories that have meaning and because of this and this. And Sam Harris does the same thing with a cookbook. And he shows that this is just mental gymnastics, and you can do this with anything. You can do it with Harry Potter, and you can do it with like the Moomins. It doesn't matter. You can take any story and find meaning in it if you want to. So, but where was I? I was talking about Lindy. Yeah.
Again, like I definitely I get where you're getting at here. I think, yeah, I mean. I think Bitcoiners like the idea of Lindy effect because the longer Bitcoin sticks around, it just like it doesn't like you said, doesn't necessarily speak to whether an idea is good or bad, but Bitcoiners like that with each passing year of Bitcoin's existence, there's a better chance that it will continue to exist. And being Bitcoiners believing that Bitcoin is a good thing, they like to see it continue to exist, obviously.
Yeah, but it doesn't say anything about where on that line you are, on that timeline you are.
Yeah.
So it's and it's sort of a. I mean, the theory is appealing, but it's not necessarily 100% accurate about everything. I mean, it's a kind of a strange meta theory.
It seems akin to, no matter how long it's taken for a block to actually be confirmed, you can always assume the next block will come in roughly 10 minutes.
Yes, yes, that's a good example. That's a good, like, but you can't be sure.
Yeah. And like if the block hasn't come for 40 minutes, the likelihood of when it's going to come is still 10 minutes from now.
Yeah, exactly.
But you know, odds.
A lot of people misinterpret that aspect of Bitcoin, by the way.
Yeah, and so I guess Lindy, yes, the idea is if it exists for a long time, it has a better chance of existing longer. But it doesn't mean it's going to happen. Like we were talking about, the Lindy effect of the Greek gods proliferating and continuing to be like one of the main religions was, sure, the Lindy effect worked until it didn't. everything always works until it doesn't.
Yeah, and there are more interesting concepts to focus on than the Lindy effect, because it's sort of like E equals mc squared is a beautiful equation. The Lindy effect is sort of, what is it? Really, what can you really do with it? I don't really know what you can do with it. Like, what can you actually predict with using the Lindy theory?
Yeah. I don't know. The answer is nothing. I don't know.
Yeah,
We don't know.
and this is a fun conversation, because I will. I think people will be more upset about me dissing Lindy than dissing the abortions.
Well,
Not to mention the stock to flow thing.
Yeah, I think in general, what I've kind of taken from this conversation is that I think it's nice to, again, converse and kind of, my goal here wasn't to agree or disagree on any of the points, but more kind of like tease out what you were getting at with some of the points and maybe draw more conversation from this. I think that it's I think it kind of proves the point. A lot of Bitcoiners adopt.
Think these are unpopular opinions. That's
well, exactly. Like a lot, I know a lot of Bitcoiners will adopt whatever the popular opinion of most other Bitcoiners are, right? Like we see a lot of prevalent, like, okay, Bitcoiners are all libertarians who love guns, who eat exclusively meat and believe in God. But that's not the case in a lot of instances. And there's a lot of diverse, different ideas. There are socialist Bitcoiners out there, believe it or not. There are which I, but
good luck with that.
Good luck with that. But there's a lot of different opinions in Bitcoin, and I think certain opinions rise to the top because of like the, I don't know what's the word for it, the loudness with which those opinions are stated, but there are opposition to some of those opinions too. So like, I guess my main goal here was to say that if you're a Bitcoiner and you have opposing views on whatever the issue be to lots of other Bitcoiners, that doesn't fucking matter. If you find value in Bitcoin but disagree on other points with other Bitcoiners, who cares? You both enjoy Bitcoin. I think that's kind of the main point I'm going for here.
Yeah.
So
I agree totally. So like I said, we're supposed to be the thick-skinned ones.
Exactly. So I think I'll let you kind of wrap up your thoughts.
Well, as I said, the tweet describes opinions that are unpopular amongst Bitcoiners. They're not necessarily my opinions. I think these points are, I'm happy to discuss them. I'm not 100% sure on where I stand on each of these bullet points. So that's why I found it funny to like bring them up.
Yeah. I think that's great. I think more people need to do that, even if they're unsure on a topic. It's interesting to discuss without screaming at each other.
And I'm sure I'm sorry if I've been like if I've been doing this too much, like taking too much time to think through whatever I want to say next.
I think it's fine. I think it's good, and I really enjoyed the conversation. Anybody? Likewise. Thanks for coming on. Always good to chat with you. If you guys want to check out Knute's books, again, Sovereignty Through Mathematics and Independence Reimagined. What's the best place to grab them, Knute?
Well, they're on Amazon, or you can DM me if you want to buy them for Bitcoin.
Beautiful. Awesome. And yeah, you can find Knute at Knut Svanholm. I'm not going to spell that right now, but he's on Twitter. I will link to that in the show notes. And dude, as always, awesome talking with you. And let's have another Bitcoin breakfast sometime soon.
Yeah. I can't wait for that.
All right, guys.
I so much want to see every one of you in real life again.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, guys. Well,
Yeah.
Thanks for being here, Knut.
Yeah, thanks a lot for inviting me, Ben. So good to see you again.
You too. Thank you guys so much for watching and or listening. If you're on YouTube, please do hit like, subscribe, and share. All of those things really do help. And if you're anywhere, whether it be on the podcast or any other platform, subscribe, rate, whatever you can do. All of those things are really, really important and very helpful. Now, if you want to help with the show in another way, do hit up the sponsors I mentioned down below. That was LEDN. You can get that $25 free. You can check out Crypto Cloaks and get 5% off with code BTC Sessions. And of course, there is the Cobo Vault, and you can do the giveaway for the tablet. Plus, if you retweet the show, tag myself in Cobo and let us know why you want that steel seed plate. If you really liked the show, you can always leave me a Bitcoin Lightning Network tip at my tippin.me page. That is tippin.me/@BTC Sessions. And with that, I'm out. Have yourselves a wonderful day, a wonderful evening, wherever you may be, and I'll see you next time for your daily session.